It would be easy to dismiss the very first Resident Evil game from 1996. And to be fair, I did so myself for a long time. The graphics look weird and old, the combat clunky, it has ridiculous cutscenes, and most importantly, only 6 years after its release, it received a remake that would go down in history as one of the definitive RE titles, which is now available in HD on all the storefronts. It took the same map and game structure, but made it much more beautiful to look at and built new set pieces and bonus modes. This isn't like Resident Evil 3, where the remake was severely undercooked. It's also not like RE2, where the remake was so different in every aspect that neither version replaces the other. So surely the RE1 remake would make the original entirely obsolete. That's a popular narrative that I also shared for a while, but now that so much time has passed, I'm actually inclined to disagree. And you'd be doing yourself a disservice by ignoring the first game. Yes, the remake is better and among the definitive old school RE experiences, but there actually are unique qualities to this original game that make it stand out, and I don't just mean as a curious look at the series' history. Now, right off the bat, this probably shouldn't be the first game you play in the series, but if you're familiar with the other titles, the original isn't as archaic as you might assume. It has all the game design elements that people are familiar with from titles like RE7 or the RE2 remake. Trapped inside the iconic mansion, you need to find an escape route by investigating your surroundings and solving weird puzzles, which often requires backtracking and item management. That's where the survival horror comes in, because the mansion gradually fills up with more dangerous monsters as you dig deeper and try to clear all these obstacles back and forth, while there's only so much ammo you can carry for self-defense. Menu navigation isn't as smooth as in later games, but if you're accustomed to other slower paced entries in the series, nothing should feel alien or overwhelming. One big difference is the use of ink ribbons. Before RE4, these games didn't just limit your resources, but also your save files. There are no automatic checkpoints, and each time you save at a typewriter, you lose one ink ribbon. However, this is more of a smokescreen. I never came close to running out of save files, even when I played these games when I was way too young. But I will say, later on, some of the typewriter and item box placements aren't the most comfortable. The other big difference lies in the tank controls, for which you turn the character in the direction you want to move and then hold forward like a tank. It is weird at first, but to be clear, if you learn these controls for like an hour, they will feel natural. They make sense with the changing camera angles, and the difficulty was designed around them. The enemies are deliberately slow, and if you get used to them, this opens up a plethora of genre classics from Silent Hill to Dino Crisis and of course this game. And above all, it still has a unique vibe. Whereas the remake nailed the gothic side of Resident Evil, the original is much brighter, cleaner and more colorful, which gives it a very different atmosphere. The colors are reminiscent of horror classics like The Shining in particular, with its bright yet empty and foreboding hallways. Actually, I find this true for many pre-rendered games. 90s CGI is inherently uncanny, with its sleek surfaces that just don't look natural. And in a horror game, that's a plus. The more time passes, the more I find the pre-rendered backgrounds unsettling in a way I'm not even sure was intended. It's like walking through a weird, dreamlike museum with no one else around. And that feeling is further cemented by the abstract camera angles. Just be cautious not to play the DualShock version, which has an infamously butchered soundtrack. Beyond that, the maps are smaller, so it's a quick-paced affair with a nice sense of progression that doesn't waste any time. It's funny that the remake has this big underwater set piece with big shark fights, for example. Here, the aquarium is just a short cutscene before you enter a single door and drain the water in under a minute. So you don't even need any sort of big time investment to finish this version. And you can appreciate the remake even more once you understand where they added twists to the old mansion design. If you have a Nintendo DS lying around, the Deadly Silence version has an extra campaign with touchpad minigames. They were a curious gimmick at the time, but the reason you might want to play this version is the skippable door animations. There's also a new boss fight made for the touchpad, for which they changed the placement of a key item, but the game doesn't really tell you that, so it's easy to get stuck. I suggest playing Deadly Silence in traditional mode. If that's not an option, the current versions on PSN or GOG are more than sufficient too. And the game will also prepare you for the sequels, which, as I mentioned earlier, are even more their own thing compared to the remakes and therefore remain must-plays for anyone interested in survival horror as a whole. And that's it for now. Don't hesitate to leave your own Resident Evil experience down below and your hot takes when it comes to the remake versus original debate. And if you found any of this babbling interesting, liking and hyping this video would be very appreciated. Thanks for watching.